Hello readers and welcome back to Tell Between Tales. Thank you for joining us today. We have a special treat for you today. We have fall recommendations brought to you by middle schoolers. We are once again going over several different categories of adult and definitely hitting up that middle grade genre today. Please stay tuned to the end of the video for an extra special announcement. Thank you and enjoy!
Hi, it's me, Lily. You remember me. I am in 8th grade now, and I have been reading some books, and I find them very interesting. Books and book series, whatever you want to say, what they're called. And I have found some really good books. They're kind of magical, witchy, murder mystery books that kind of really go along with fall. And honestly, when I think of fall, I think of Halloween. And so I'm going to more like the mystery kind or like the fantasy kind. So the first one I'm going to talk about is Witch Atelier. I don't know how do you pronounce that. So Witch Hat Atelier, it is a manga, and it starts out with this little girl. Her name is Coco, and she loves magic. She absolutely loves magic. She loves everything about magic. But she's not a witch, and only witches can do magic. Her job is just basically going around and helping villagers with their needs and wants. And then one day, a carriage is broken, and there is a witch that she sees, an actual witch. He says, "Don't worry, I can fix her carriage." And Coco's really excited because, like, we get to see him do all these amazing things. Maybe we can even see him do the magic. But when he says that he wants to go in the room alone and doesn't want anyone seeing him perform the magic, and Coco's supposed to be guarding the door. While she's guarding the door, there is a window, and two boys are so curious and like, "Hey, why are you guarding the door?" "Oh, we're gonna go up in this window." And they go to the window, and they're like, "Oh, dang it, the curtains are shut." That means he really doesn't want us to see her. Coco, curiosity killed the cat, goes and looks in, and she finds him drawing. And that's how she finds out that maybe if I draw, I can do magic too. She finds out she can do magic as well from this picture book that she found. And then something terribly goes wrong. But that's all I'm going to say, so now you have to read it. But I do recommend getting 3 books at a time, because they always end up on a cliffhanger. So 1 to get the first one, second, and third one. That way you kind of, because the third one doesn't really have a cliffhanger. It's kind of like, we'll do this next. So it's not really a cliffhanger. But then the next book I want to talk about is the Da Vinci Code. The Da Vinci Code is a mystery book. I honestly want to say it's a really good book, but I suggest if you're in 6th grade or 7th grade, you might not want to read it yet, because there is some content that is not really 100% appropriate in it. So there is some profanity in there, like bleepity bleep bleep bleep, and there is a little bit of sexual contact that I'm aware of. If you don't want your child or you reading that yet, then that's fine. It is an adult book. I just read it because I just wanted to read an adult book, and that is a really famous book, and so that's why I chose it. But it is a murder mystery, and it has layers and layers upon meaning. It goes into symbols, and it has a whole bunch of codes, obviously, and Da Vinci artwork, obviously, and a whole bunch of stuff from the Bible. Honestly, if you don't believe in it, that's okay. Not all of it's true. It's probably just kind of it's not true, but it's just making a story about it. And first, it starts out immediately with this person getting murdered. And that's the whole first chapter. This person's getting murdered. And the second chapter is where a person named Robert Langdon gets involved. And it's really interesting because you get to see him explaining the symbols and the codes throughout there, have multiple meanings and layers, and a whole bunch of other things that you really never notice. Like, it points out some things in the Da Vinci artworks that I never even noticed before, like in the Last Supper or in the Mona Lisa. But I do recommend, it's really good. And my number three number option, I have been reading the Harry Potter series again, and if you have not read the books and only seen the movies, which is a crime, you should definitely read the first Harry Potter book, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. There are some things in there that I totally forgot about. I totally forgot about the whole Peeves and Filch thing. Peeves, one of my favorite ghosts at Hogwarts. And if you're done with that, you can work on the second one. Second one is amazing. And sometimes it's just, you just love to go through the character arcs and see their personalities, like Moaning Myrtle, like feels so special. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, in case if you have not read it, I'll give you a little bit of a context clue to it. So at the really beginning, it starts out with surreal like things like everyone will know his name in the wizarding world. That's why he has to stay with these people. And at first you see these people, so it's Vernon and Petunia Dursley with their son Dudley, and they are absolutely terrible people, but they have to be the people who are watching over a famous boy named Harry Potter. And how it starts out is that it's Dudley's birthday. Oh yay, happy birthday, Dudley. Nobody likes you. Harry hates Dudley's birthday because Dudley gets like 35 presents and for Harry's birthday he only gets like an old sock. On Dudley's birthday, he has to stay at Mrs. Fig's house, and he doesn't really like seeing all of her old photos of her cats and her house smelling of broccoli and these weird other herbal scent smells that he doesn't like. And she also makes this really old-fashioned cake, and so he doesn't like really staying at Miss Fig's house. But when news comes that Miss Fig has broken her leg, the whole tables have turned. Dudley is supposed to be going to the zoo with his friend, but now Miss Fig is not being able to watch him. They don't really know what to do. Aunt Marge is going out on vacation, and so everyone else is not available. So they have to take Harry Potter to the zoo. While they're at the zoo, Dudley throws a tantrum because his dessert doesn't have enough ice cream, and they go see the reptile house. Now Harry goes to the reptile house and sees a big display case of a giant snake. It's a really big boa constrictor, and the boa constrictor is supposed to be originated from Brazil. And suddenly Harry starts talking with the snake, and Dudley loses interest in the snake because the snake's not moving, but then Harry starts communicating with it. And then they're talking with each other. The snake's nodding and shaking his head. He's like, oh, you grew up in Brazil. Must have been nice there. But he was born in captive. And Harry's like, it's like me too, considering that he's been with the Dursleys and has been kind of bred in captivity there. But then Dudley sees the snake moving, pushes Harry out of the way, and puts his fat face against the glass. Harry is not really happy with this. He's angry, and the next thing he knows, the glass disappears. And the snake escapes. And then Dudley is in there in cold, blubbering mess. And then the Dursleys blame it on Harry, because they just do, and Harry doesn't know why. And he says, I don't know, it was like magic. But they burst into outrage to say there's no such thing as magic. And it has been more miserable until one day he gets a mysterious letter. Nobody's written to him letters before, and he had no friends. Dudley made sure of that. But soon, this mysterious letter, he's about to open it, but the Dursleys don't want him to open it. They get really scared. And that's all I'm going to say to you. If you haven't read the first book, I definitely recommend reading it, because watching the movies before reading the book first is a crime. Also, I would say that if you have already finished the first one, go ahead and read the second one. It's amazing. It has to do more about snakes. Yay! And number 4 for my next book, Serafina and the Black Cloak. It is an amazing book. It is a mystery. It's not a murder mystery, but it's a mystery where people are disappearing. Not just any people, children are disappearing, which is interesting. And so first it starts out with this girl in the castle. She just goes about living her normal day life. Her father works in the castle, and she is kind of kept secret, living in the boiler's place. Although she's not supposed to, she loves exploring the castle and going around, and she's very quiet about it. She's very small, very quiet, and for some reason she has 4 toes on her foot. One night, she is exploring the castle, and she sees this blonde girl running in the hallway. She was like, oh, I should talk to her. I want her to have a friend. And she goes following the girl, but then a man wearing a black cloak comes chasing after the blonde girl that she was following. And eventually, the man with the black cloak envelops his cloak around her, and then the girl disappears. So what is Serafina gonna do, and who is this person wearing the cloak? Find that when you read the book. By the way, that's all that I'm suggesting for now. These are really amazing books that I would highly suggest, and they all have mysteries in them and like some kind of twings of magic in them. And fantasy. Not all of them are true, which is amazing. They still have some fictional elements in them, and I just think it's really, really interesting to read. So you should read them. Bye.
Hello, so I'm going to be telling some middle grade books that you can read in the fall, and I think that they're like fall-y or Halloween-y, and I'm going to get started. So this is my first one. I'm going to be doing The Shelterlings. It's a book that gives me the fall vibe because it has like witches kind of in it, and it has some like animals that are like fall animals, not the main characters are like fall animals, and it's not very scary. And this book is about the main characters, a squirrel named Holly and an owl, and an owl whose name is Gus, a barn owl whose name is Gus, and they go on an adventure together, and they have so many other friends, but those are the 2 main characters, and they go on an adventure to see if they can find something to fix the wishing pool, and a beaver tells them that they need to go on an adventure to fix this wishing pool where they got the magical powers from, because their powers are broken, is what they say, and they didn't get a witch. And their familiars is what they're supposed to be, but they didn't make it, and no witches wanted them, so they lost the chance to be a familiar. And this guy named Charlie, he's a beaver, and he says that if they get all these ingredients and go on this adventure and find them and put them into the wishing pool, he'll say the magic words, and that will make it so it'll be fixed, and then they'll get their new powers, and then they'll become a familiar. But these specific animals are not familiars, and they were cast out, so this is why they're trying to do this. So this is a good book to read, and it's called The Shelterlings. Another book that would be good, this one's kind of creepy, but it's a good book to read. If you're into creepy, then this would be a good book because it's not too creepy, but it's not boring. So it is a fun, interesting story, and it's about these 3 best friends, and there's a girl, and her parents have a debt for their house, and they need to get more money, and these friends love to do escape rooms together. And they find out that there's this place where there's these 3 brothers who made a really hard and challenging escape room, and they say that they can do it. They're going to do it so they can get the big prize at the end. So they think it's going to be money, but they're not quite sure. So then they travel, and they travel across the train to go to this place, and their adventure takes place in this spot, but they have to be careful because there's several people who have tried to do it, but the cops have come and caught them because it's off limits and they're sneaking into this place. So this is a good book to read, and I would definitely recommend it for the fall or like for Halloween time. This is called Witchlings, and it is a book about 3 girls, and it starts out with this one girl named Seven. Seven has a best friend, and they're really excited for this Black Moon ceremony that they prepare for, and it's to see what like house they get put into. They get like a stone that represents their house for witchcraft, kind of. These 2 best friends, they really want to get into the same one, which is the Hyans. So they get put into groups depending on how powerful they are, and these 2 best friends want to get put into the house of Hyans, and this is the highest one, and these best friends are really excited for this festival. And then they have these little necklaces that they have on, and then when they find out what their group is, then they will be like, oh, I'm in this group, or this group. And in this book, they really don't want to be a spare. And a spare is the least powerful and the people that people hate the most. And no one wants to be in that one. And it turns out that Seven is in the spare, and her best friend gets into Hyans. And she's super upset, but she has 2 other girls that are with her in the spare. And their names are Valley and Thorn. And they become really good friends, and they go on an adventure. So if you're a spare, then you get cast out. So the only option for them to stay in is to do the impossible task. And it's something really tricky and hard. And in this case, their impossible task is they must defeat the dreaded Night Beast. And it's a whole adventure on them going out to defeat this Night Beast, which is pretty creepy, but they are like following and tracking it down. It's kind of like a werewolf, and it only comes out at night, and it takes people away and tries to eat them. This would be a good middle grade book, but if you aren't really into like werewolves or anything, then I would not recommend it. But I would definitely recommend this book. It's really fun, and it's really interesting, and all this magical things happen, and it's a very fun fantasy book. So this is the first book, and then this is the second book if you really like this. My last middle grade book that I'm going to share with you is called Gloom Town. This one can be really creepy, and the reason why I would say this is because it just has some creepy things in it, but it would be definitely a good Halloween fall book. I would recommend this book because it gives you those creepy vibes, but it's not very creepy, honestly, but it's very fun, and there's so many plot twists in this book, and that's really nice, and you get to be like, oh, I'm so surprised, I didn't know this, or this, I can't believe this happened. Like, there's so many fun plot twists in this book. So I definitely recommend this book. This book is about a boy named Rory, and then him and his mom are in debt for their house, and if they don't pay to the person who's like offering or renting out the house to them, then they'll get kicked out and then have to like move. But Rory's dream is to be a sailor, but his dad was a sailor and he died sailing, and his mom will not let him sail, but they need to get money. So Rory is like, okay, I'm gonna go and find some way to get money. So he goes to find a job, and he's looking around trying to find a job. So Rory finds a job at Foxglove Manor, where he is a cleaner, and he cleans it and makes it all nice every day, and that's what he wants to do. But his mom's kind of hesitant, like, okay, you can do that, I guess. And he goes and finds all these secrets about there, and it's always been bad talk that there's like mystery in it, and there's so many fun, interesting things that happen. So Rory and his friend Elizabeth go onto this adventure to figure out what's there at Foxglove Manor. Elizabeth has to be at her mom's restaurant where her mom works, and she tells like the future kind of, and Rory has to like go through and have her like tell what's gonna happen. So she tries to figure this out, and then they go together off on this adventure to figure out what's actually at Foxglove Manor. So I would definitely recommend this book, but if you really don't like books that are kind of creepy, then I would not recommend it for you. But this is a really fun, interesting book, and that's why I would recommend it. Thanks for watching, and hope you enjoyed this video. And this is our special announcement. We are going to be posting middle grade books on Monday. So, Middle Grade Monday. This will be a series of middle grade books brought to you by middle schoolers. Thanks for watching.